My name is Kiran, I'm a junior doctor and a comedian working in Manchester. We've been watching Adam Kay's new series, This Is Going to Hurt, on the BBC. If you have missed the other episodes, where have you been? We are currently on episode 5. It's been an amazing series so far about his life as a doctor in the hospital. How does it compare to life as a doctor today? Let's check it out.
I just wanted to let you know that it's my engagement party tomorrow. It's been a very last minute thing. Okay. Well, look, let's catch up in another 5 years, yeah.
That's how it feels like when you leave medical school, because you make such good friends there, but you're friends with a lot of people, and then you start work and everyone is busy, everyone's on the non-call rota, they're working weekends. To try and coordinate to do things is basically impossible. And that makes it really difficult to stay in touch with people. And there are people who I would consider really good friends who I've also not seen in about 5 years. Does that make me a bad friend?
Why don't you pop to the loo? Get me a sample. Right, should have been more specific.
That's not the kind of sample that he was looking for. This happens all of the time if you're not specific about how to do things. When we ask people to do stool samples and we want a sample of the poo, we give them this little pot. And sometimes people will look at the pot and think, how do I get the poo in the pot? Actually, it's a pot that has a lid on it, and attached to the lid is a little spoon. And people think that you need to try and poo in this little pot, which is not the case at all. So I've had people come back to me being like, I just can't get the poo in the pot. What you're meant to do is put some tissues in the bowl, do your business in the toilet, and then use the little spoon to scoop it up and then put it in the pot and close the lid. You don't need to poo straight in that pot. Should have been more specific. This is how I feel right now with my revision. Now Adam's got another letter from the GMC about a complaint that's come through. Even though that other patient from the previous episode dropped their complaint, something else has come from the GMC.
Thank you for calling the Medical Protection Union.
So he's calling his defence union. So the way this works is a doctor needs indemnity or insurance. So they need a medical union to represent them and give them advice about this sort of thing. So for example, if you get a complaint come through, or if there is a serious incident, you've got someone who is independent who you can speak to about advice about how to reply to this sort of thing. So you should never reply to a complaint straight away. You should first of all speak to your union. For example, in the UK, we use the Medical Protection Society or the Medical Defence Union or MDDUS. There's loads of them. You speak to them, you speak to an advisor about what an appropriate response should be, and then you submit that as your response to this.
Now I'm going to get those?
The sound of those bleeps literally haunts my nightmares.
True or false? Chromaffin cells are innervated by preganglionic sympathetic fibres and derived from the mesoderm.
True.
See? You'd be fine. I mean, it's false.
This is how it feels. How distant is that from actually what she's doing in terms of working as a doctor? However, there is a lot of these intricacies that you do need to know that you don't even know you need to know until you start revising for exams.
On the letter it says that the complainant is anonymous.
Anonymous normally suggests it's a colleague.
A colleague.
Plot thickens as one of his colleagues has complained about him. I'm not surprised, considering there's some of the stuff that he's done and the pressure he put on a patient to drop a complaint. Let's see where it goes.
She hasn't passed urine for over 12 hours.
Nor have I.
That's so true. And that's a call you get all of the time in the night to say, oh, a patient hasn't passed urine in 8 hours. But actually it's the night time and people are asleep, and maybe it's okay to not pass urine for that long if you're asleep.
Right, your catheter tube's trapped under the wheel of your bed.
So this patient's got a catheter in. A catheter is a tube that goes up through your urethra into your bladder. So in men, that's going to go up through the penis into the bladder. And these tubes will get put in usually because of urinary retention, so conditions in which your bladder's not emptying fully and you need help passing it, or if we need to monitor the urine more closely, for example if someone is really sick with sepsis, because the amount of urine that's coming out is actually a measure of organ function and kidney function. So if someone is producing very little urine, it's a sign that their kidneys aren't working as well, perhaps they're not being perfused as well, there's not enough blood going there, and it's a sign of a serious infection. If a catheter tube gets blocked, naturally that urine is actually piling up somewhere, and it's piling up in the bladder. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger, becomes very painful for people, and they go into urinary retention. And what's happened here is that tube is blocked because it's caught under something. So very simple solution.
You complained about me to the GMC.
The GMC? I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
I love the dynamic between these two. There's sort of this collegiate relationship, is that a word? There's sort of this relationship of people working in the hospital together, they're colleagues, but at the same time they're sort of competition for each other and they're always at each other. And I think Julian understands the implications of referring and complaining to the GMC, because realistically if this complaint does go further and they go do an investigation and they find out what he's done, there's a risk that he could be struck off, which means that he could lose his job. Imagine having to revise for an exam and also see 1 million patients in a clinic.
Are you on call for psychiatry today?
No, I just stole their bleep.
Why is everyone in this hospital he works at incredibly sarcastic? Everyone's sarcastic about everything.
I've got a woman who tried to jump off a bridge this morning, a student in frank psychosis. What's this one? Another suicide attempt.
Please, even if it's just a minute.
There's only one of me, I just can't.
This is the problem when you're a specialty and your job is seeing the referrals in A&E, because what can happen is if a certain number of patients of your specialty turn up in A&E, things can pile up really quickly, and especially if it's only you seeing those patients, it can pile up and up and up and up, and there's so much to see and you need to prioritize these things. So Adam has a patient who he's concerned about because she's tried to mutilate herself down below to make it look nicer, and he wants a psychiatry opinion on that. However, the psychiatry registrar who's seeing all the psychiatry patients has so many other things going on. She's got a patient who's tried to commit suicide, another patient who's tried to commit suicide, all very important things as well. So where is she going to be able to put her time?
Might be easy not to think of it as a baby. It's just a bunch of cells.
A bunch of cells?
No. Sorry.
I do not think that is the best way to describe a baby when you're telling someone that their baby is no longer alive.
Listen, there's no hurry to make a decision. Okay, you just get in touch whenever and we'll book you in for the tablets or the operation.
So this shows the difference in experience. This patient's had a miscarriage and Shruti was responsible with telling them about it. She's gone about it in a very frank and sudden way, not really in the best way of telling them, and now the consultant has had to come in and try and clean up the mess that she's created.
She's very junior, but that falls absolutely miles short of what I expect from my doctors. I'm really disappointed in her.
It's a tough one, because I kind of feel sorry for Shruti because she's got so many things on. She's revising for her exams and she's also doing this really, really busy clinic. And I imagine she just kind of forgets that these are actually people that she's seeing.
Can you move your arm? I think you've had a stroke.
I haven't had a stroke, I'm fine.
I think you've had a stroke.
I didn't eat my breakfast.
I'll make you a wee slice of toast, love.
Hospital toast tastes absolutely amazing. I don't know what it is about hospital toast, but it tastes so much better than normal toast. That white bread with thick butter on it fixes everything.
I will see you at the Working Men's Club on Pollard Road for 7.
You having a big pre-exams party, or?
Is that a no?
Huh? So yes.
That is definitely what you shouldn't do before an exam, is have a big night out. Let's see how it pans out for her.
I've been thinking I'm going to have to relieve you of best man duties.
Right, you're demoting me to just man.
What awkward conversation to have with someone. To be like, I'm sorry you can't be the best man at my wedding anymore.
Greg's just dumped me as his best man, and there's been a complaint about me, a bad one, to the GMC. Sorry, I was miles away. Yeah, I'm fine, thanks.
That was such a good little scene about everything that's going on in his head and what he needs to be saying to people to be honest about what's going on, but actually he's just holding everything in and saying, yep, I'm fine, everything's fine.
Thanks so much for coming, guys.
It's all right. It's the first night out we've had in years.
We dragged her along. She never gets out.
Didn't want to miss out any gossip, more like.
That's actually so nice. So Adam's having his engagement party, which, by the way, he was late to, which is not cool. I mean, I know hospitals are busy, but there's no excuse for that. And all of his work colleagues have come. Shruti's come the night before an exam. I'm not sure about that. And she's having a date at the same time.
No, of course not. Look, if you ever want to talk about the GMC, you know. This is for you. Got something?
I like how they're kind of rivals at work. But at the same time, Julian is sort of on a level. He understands what Adam is going through, what's going on in his life, and he seems like quite a nice person.
Should we find you a cab?
You're the one who keeps asking me for a drink.
Can you imagine being this hungover for an exam that you've revised so hard for?
Of course, he hates you.
What? No, I don't hate you.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I guess other people hate you more. GMC.
Oh, the show is so cringe.
I knew you were a terrible doctor. I didn't know that you're a terrible person as well.
You didn't do it.
Spare me.
I did.
He's had a massive go at her because he thinks that she put the complaint in, said them horrible things, and it was Tracy that put the complaint in.
You assaulted your patients. That's what that is. If you cut someone's tattoo, taking personal phone calls during deliveries, and disconnecting the emergency alarms.
It's kind of true. Like, a lot of the stuff that she's saying is a lot of dubious stuff that you probably shouldn't be doing. One thing we saw earlier in the series was when he sutured someone's tattoo not together on purpose, which is a completely, like, inappropriate thing to do. So I understand where she's coming from.
How can I trust you with my patients? You didn't leave me with any choice.
So we're kind of conflicted because at the same time, we've watched so much of Adam and we kind of feel sorry that all of this is going on for him. But at the same time, everything that she has said is right. He's done a lot of really dubious things and probably it's a valid complaint that's gone in against him.
There he is. I thought you'd gone back to work.
He's just always at work. Work is always on his mind and you really need something to be able to disconnect from it. I don't really know anything that he does outside of work other than be at home. But I think this is one of the main things about having balance in your life and being a doctor nowadays and how it's different to it was back then, is that everyone actually has a life outside of the hospital and you kind of need to. That was episode 5 of This Is Going to Hurt. If you enjoyed it, feel free to check out the other episodes, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos, and I'll see you in the next one.